I have to own that probably 1/3 was menopause, 1/3 of my weight gain was thyroid, and 1/3 was martinis and sitting on the couch, and stress. I'm more of a stress grazer, not a not eater. So I think you have to really be willing to admit like where you need to own it and where your body's working against you.
All right. Hi.
Hi. Here we go.
Here we go. Welcome, Karyn Stuart. Karyn is the Director of Leadership Programs at the Boise Metro Chamber. Karyn has had a very extensive, varied career, I would say.
Right.
And today we're going to talk about something that I find fascinating, which is diet, obstacles, and successes. I feel like everybody in their life has watched what they ate, whether they want to call it a diet or whether they just want to call it watching what they ate. But everyone's kind of gone through something like this. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you because you've got some expertise in this field.
Oh, gosh. So, yeah, I mean, diet, right, means what you're eating. But we're talking diet like to lose weight or to get healthy.
Sure.
And so let's start with my expertise. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of career experience in weight loss, but I'm not a nutritionist and I'm not a doctor. So I make no claims of being an expert. That's kind of like my thing. I come on here and say
Perfect.
I'm not an expert.
Don't be an expert.
I'm just going to tell you what I think. And so I worked for the YMCA a long time ago, but I was the director of marketing, membership marketing. So not in the fitness world, but surrounded by it, right? And then I worked a great deal longer for Jenny Craig International. And that was back in the day when it was a pretty cool, and not that it's not now, but I'd been gone a long time, pretty cool place for women. I would meet young women who had jobs in different service capacity, and they could make real money working in the weight loss field and managing centers, and great opportunity. So it was really cool because I had also run departments for the LA Visitors Bureau in membership marketing. So I came from running teams, and I had a center in Glendale, California. And I had, what else? I moved up to counselor trainer, which it was, again, not nutritional, right? The corporate offices, they were international, 750 centers. So they had nutritionists and they had everyone who planned the menus and did all that. So it was sales, and the counseling was behavioral counseling. So we worked with people on their motivation, their habits, drinking water, following the plan, all of that stuff. So we had counselors who did that weekly, and then we had salespeople, and we had assistant manager, et cetera. So then the next step up was counselor trainer, which I did for a region, and then sales trainer. So we went, whatever they called a program trainer or something, and then assistant regional and regional supervisor. So we had 20 centers in Eastern LA. I drove and commuted a lot. And then that was back in the 90s, and we were workaholics. Don't believe what you hear. It wasn't the era of greed. It was the era of completely out of balance, working all the time. But we kind of loved it. Thus the Brie, champagne, and BMW, right? Because you worked all the time and you made money, but it was fun to work. And so I worked with hundreds, maybe thousands. I never sat down. I figured out like the gross revenues of 20 centers and kind of what I was responsible for, 200 employees. But I've never figured out maybe thousands of women and men, but predominantly women. A lot of celebrities because it was LA. So that was kind of cool. Oh, I can't really say, can I? That would be that would not be a good idea.
Probably not who, but
those who are still alive, who came in to lose weight. But that was fun. And it was also fun. Like one of my closest friends started as a counselor and eventually managed a center. And we've stayed friends like, God, what is it? 30 years? I mean, it's a long time. So that was very cool. But I learned a lot about, I never had a weight problem. I think I went there because I quit smoking and wanted to lose 10 pounds. And I was recruited. They're like, you should come here. And so they kind of fast tracked me through the program of learning how it worked. But I learned, they had an adolescent program. That was really interesting to learn about juvenile weight loss and how it's done. Because I didn't know. I didn't have kids, and you don't really put kids on a diet At least this is and again, this is old information I have, so things have changed. I've tried to keep up, but you just change the habits, and because they're growing, the weight comes off. And so it was really interesting because usually the kids just, they weren't educated on what to eat. They had bad role models, sometimes, not always. And so you'd get them off the juice packets and onto water or whatever and riding their bike a bit more, and it would come off. And so that was very interesting. At the time, the program was probably a heavier emphasis, like everything, on carbohydrates than it is now. I don't know. I haven't been back in decades, but I think they switched to more protein, over the years. So I did that for over 6.5 years, and ran a region. I opened centers in Mexico and in Tennessee, did some like corporate training that way. So it was really, really fun. And I loved it. But it started to change as things do, to where more and more people had done the program and were on maintenance or were coming back. And it just, it, like everything, it changed. And they still exist, but just not in the way it was back then. It was huge, right? So I also did consulting for a company in LA called Lindora, and managing 2 of their centers. I think I was a manager. I honestly don't remember what I did. But that was a protein diet. And that was kind of in the fen era, which they probably don't like to talk about. But I don't know that anybody knew, that it was not safe and stuff. But that was very interesting because 100 pounds on a high carbohydrate diet versus losing 100 pounds on a high protein diet, you really could see the difference of when you maintain, your muscle mass and stuff. So that was learning. And I worked with nurses because that program actually had nurses. So I was more the operations, corporate, salesy person, and they were the people who gave the B12 shots, and did the program. So that was very interesting. What else did I do? So it's a combination of those 11 years of experience and then my own kind of journey that I thought we would talk about. And things have changed, the pyramid changed. We were talking about that earlier. The understanding of keto and like Atkins has been around forever.
Right.
You can go back. We were moving one time and found newspaper clippings in a house and it had diet advice in it. And it said, don't eat potatoes, rice, sugar. It was basically the anything white theory. And it was like the 20s or the 30s. So like the stuff's not new. People didn't maybe understand the science of ketogenics and why, but they knew that too much bread makes you fat. Yeah. So I was always pretty thin and kind of spoiled genetically because I had good legs and a flat stomach and I never worked out. I mean, I was a gymnast in high school a little bit, not like, for real. And but I know, I had a tall, thin mother. I'm not tall or thin like she was, but super weight obsessed. And so weight was always like, and I was the obnoxious person. I need to lose 3 pounds, which when you really have a significant amount of weight, you just hate those people. And I have a friend who is very thin and very small. And when I needed to lose weight, she'd go, yeah, I want to lose 2 pounds. I'd be like, just shut up, Grace. Because, no one wants to hear that. And then I'd think, I was that person.
You were that person
Karma's
too.
a bitch. And I remember being on a plane flying to Memphis to help open a center. And I swear to God, this is absolutely why I had thyroid issues later in life. Because this woman said, she said, what do you do? And she said, I used to be thin, but menopause is horrible and blah, blah, blah. And I went, well, I don't know. I was like 30. You'd think I would be smarter at 30, but I went, I don't know. I think I know enough what to do. Well, no, it doesn't matter. When your body starts working against you, It doesn't matter how brilliant you are about science and weight loss. So fast forward, my particular journey was I did not need to really lose weight until like 50 or whatever, till menopause. I got to be careful because if I say length of time, I will reveal my age. It's not the goal. So
Karyn, you're forever 35.
Well, I'll settle for anything under 50. Sounds good. So anyway, I had Hashimoto's thyroiditis that was not diagnosed properly. They missed it, basically, as they do with blood tests a lot. And then I had half my thyroid taken out. And my son was 3. That's all I remember. And then my other side of my thyroid, they said, kind of went hyper. And I don't know if there's a doctor watching going, that's not what, but basically it compensated. And so I went back to being, 110 pounds or whatever it was. And it wasn't until 10 years later that the other side started to whack out, and I hit menopause, and your hormones go to hell, and you can lose all your estrogen, and the double whammy, and we'll talk about whenever you want to, just the series of finding medication, et cetera, that I gained. So I think I gained 30 pounds over 10 years, probably. And that was a lot for me, other than when I'd been pregnant. I weighed more than when I was pregnant, 35 pounds, maybe more. So maybe 40. There's a point where you stop looking and you just go, oh, good God. And it was such a struggle, such a struggle because of the combination of thyroid and menopause and just everything. And so everything that I knew and everything I'd learned, and I'd done Atkins and keto, dirty keto. You're talking about. And Jenny Craig and intermittent fasting and all these different things. And really kind of nothing worked. And exercise, moderate exercise. I've never been like a fitness, person, addict. So some people are. They trade one addiction for another.
I know.
But I'd never also had food issues of bulimia and anorexia. I dealt with them, but, So fast forward, literally, I lost a little bit of weight here and there, and I don't know, whenever you want to talk about like what I did, but literally it's only been 5 months since I got all the weight off. So that's kind of what I want to talk about is, the different diets, like what you think. And, the healthiest diet, if you Google it, they say Mediterranean diet, right? And then intermittent fasting is very cool. So whatever you want to chit-chat about with those, but we'll save the best for last, like the what worked. And I have a theory of, I think like I'd call it the 4 steps to being successful with a few caveats in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
so much.
Let's talk about, before we get into that, let's just talk about the fact that, again, how I said in the beginning, everyone at some point in their life has watched what they ate. Yeah. Right? I knew people in college who had the metabolisms, probably like yours when you were younger, where it was just, they could eat anything. And I always look at my roommates in college because when I was in college, I was on meds for my lupus. And prednisone, I had taken time off, or I had to take time off to do chemo because I had too much fun my first semester of college, and I didn't realize that would have some kind of effect on my kidneys. Oh. Whoops, these are lessons learned, hindsight, right? But I had friends that we would be up all night in finals studying, and we would eat whatever. We would go to the middle of the night Mexican place that was open 24 hours in San Diego, which is every single Mexican place in San Diego. And we'd get California burritos or something. And I just remember I had roommates that could literally eat everything. And I would just have to look at that food. And especially at that time on meds, it would just, my body would hold it. Mm-hmm. So growing up, I never really had what we would classify as a weight problem. I had an induced, like a medically induced because of medicine. So prednisone, I went on it for the first time at 13. But up until then, I played volleyball. I'm not going to say I was a stellar athlete, but I was an athlete enough that I was always active and always in sports. So to have then a tremendous weight gain, my first month of prednisone, I think I gained 50 pounds because I was on, it was wild. So at 13 and a half, gaining all that weight, new high school, it's all medically induced, but it was the max dose of prednisone. So you get that change immediately. So I would say For all the years that I was on meds, which was a very long time, I toggled with my weight. And that was something that you couldn't just diet and get it off because you're still on the medicine.
You're retaining all that water.
Yeah, the prednisone messes with your adrenal glands. Not only does it make you psychotic emotionally, but then it's like you're eating or you're just retaining.
And
but
you're hungry, aren't you?
You're hungry.
Yeah.
You don't remember that you're eating. It's this whole combination. It's like a more than a trifecta of trouble. And prednisone is one of those drugs that, I mean, I swear it does. Again, I'm not a doctor, but from experience, I can say it did more harm to me than maybe good. And it was always that med that I never wanted to go back on. But there's certain times now, if my arthritis flares, that I have to take a small dose of prednisone. And it's just like, ugh, I don't want to take it, but I have to because I know that shit will help me.
Yeah, but how long did it take for it to come off after you stopped?
A long time.
Really?
Yep, a long time.
What do you think it did to you that made it?
I don't know, but it just took a while.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You deal with it. But over the years, and especially because of my illness, autoimmune, which you also know about, it's challenging to, and especially being on chemo for quite a few rounds, it did something to my stomach with a chemo where it's just consistently messed up. I like intermittent fasting. Like I go, 16-8. So I won't eat all day and then I'll eat at night. And I'll have coffee in the morning, but that's not really breaking a fast.
Depends on what you put in it.
Yeah, that's also true. But typically, if it's just kind of plain or tea, it's not going to break it.
No.
But anything else, I don't get hungry during the day. And I kind of thrive like this. So it just works for me, right? I also live with a lot of stress. So I feel stress, my coping mechanism is I don't eat. But keto has worked the best for me. Is the goal to be on keto forever? No, the goal is like that Mediterranean diet where I would consider that just a balanced diet for anybody where you have a little bit of leeway. It's kind of over the years it's come out with just eat what you want and eat everything in moderation. I think overall long term, if you don't have a weight problem, if you're not suffering and struggling and you're just kind of living balanced, I think that that's ultimately what we all want. Just if I want some Fruit Loops, right? We were talking about this the other day. If I want Fruit Loops, I'm going to have them, but I'm not going to make sure that they count for my carbs. I don't want to count anymore. I did that with competing.
I think that the things about expressions like everything in moderation stuff is that it's fine for people who are maintaining or who never had weight problems. And it's not fine for people who are trying to lose generally. Because I think one of the things that we saw like at Jenny Craig was that people are really ill-informed. Nowadays, people are way more informed because there's so much information that's accessible. But even then, denial is a powerful thing. And it's so easy without a menu or without a guideline to forget. There was an old vaudeville comedian, I don't remember her name, but she, like way back in the day, said, it's not the food you eat, it's the food that flies into your mouth when you're not paying attention. And it's true. You can go like, oh, I didn't eat anything today. And then, or my husband and I will talk about that. And he's done, men lose faster than women. They have a higher muscle mass. I think that's why he's trying to lose some weight and he's, is doing very well and he's very disciplined. But he'll say, all I had was this and this. And I'll say, well, did you have coffee with cream? Oh, yeah, and that. And did you have, oh, yeah, and that. And it's the, oh, yeah, and that's that, get you. So that's one thing. And then another thing that's been a true disservice, I think, to people is calories in, calories out. And as much as I do believe, so spoiler alert, that counting calories is, in fact, necessary, no matter what you're doing, for most people, not everybody. I think keto, it's really easy to get way too many calories. Now, if you're super active, right? If you're a keto person who's also a fitness person, and so you're eating a fat bomb or you're eating this and that, chances are you're going to burn it off and your body needs it and stuff. But if you're doing dirty keto or something and you're eating 3,000-4,000 calories a day and you don't know it, it's probably not, the science just isn't going to work.
Right.
Because even if you deplete the carbohydrates and go into fat burning mode, you have to have a calorie balance too, right?
Sure.
So I don't think I ever had to worry about it, not because I was tall and thin or made that way or a fitness person like you who just naturally was gonna, not eat and do this and that, but I was super active always. So even if I wasn't running, I was busy every second. And so some of it you have to own. I have to own that probably 1/3 was menopause, 1/3 of my weight gain was thyroid, and 1/3 was martinis and sitting on the couch. I think, and stress. And I'm more of a stress grazer, not a not eater, right? So I think you have to really be willing to admit like where you need to own it and where your body's working against you. But then I've had endocrinologists say terrible things to me. The first time I went in for, and not all of them, I have a fabulous physician now and stuff, but the first time that I said, I think something's wrong, I think I'd gained 11 pounds or something, which I never gained 11 pounds, just out of the blue. I mean, I wasn't one of those people that, you gained 12 pounds between Thanksgiving and New Year. I allowed myself cookies, but I just didn't do that stuff. And she said, well, you're getting older. This was a regular primary physician. I was 40. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. And I happened to read at the time a peroxidase, I hope I'm saying them. I'm going to look at my notes just in case anyone wants to do it. So I got a thyroid reading that was normal. I said, I think my thyroid's whacked. So I got a thyroid reading that was normal. Let me find it. And then I said, I read this thing. And it said the test for Hashimoto's is a PER. Oh, my mind is gone. Lost weight and lost my mind. Oh, PEROXIDASE TPO antibody test. So peroxidase, I think it is.
Okay.
So that literally tests for the antibodies that are attacking your thyroid. And so she did that. She came back. She went, oh, yeah, you have Hashimoto's. I went, well, look at that. I'm not just old.
I guess it's not that I'm old.
And so then they said, put you on Thyroid or something. And then I happened to get like a goiter it wasn't I'm not actually sure on all these terms because one person has goiter, another person has this, but I got a lump in my throat. And then they were like, oh, now that we can see something. And so when I got that out and they biopsied it and they're like, no, it was just your thyroid. It wasn't a growth on your thyroid. It was just your thyroid just went ballistic. And so I don't believe I took anything at the time because that's what I was saying. My other side kind of kicked in and I dropped like 8 pounds in a week. You don't lose 8 pounds in a week. So it was probably water weight, most of it, retention from inflammation and all that. And then I was fine for all those years. And then the other side started to whack out. And so when that happened, they put me on Synthroid, and depending on the endocrinologist, they had different theories. There was a thing at the time called putting your thyroid to sleep, which was they jacked it up really high so that it wouldn't grow little cysts or tumors on it. So every time they did that, I gained 5 pounds. And they did it like 3 times. So that was like 15 pounds right there. And then it wasn't the gaining, it was that you can't lose it. And I think anybody with Hashimoto's or thyroid will tell you it's so hard to lose weight. And then coupled with menopause, where when your estrogen goes down, inflammation increases and insulin resistance increases, and not for everybody, but can. So you have the combination and it's killer. So I found that Armour thyroid, which is the organic, I think it's pig thyroid, which is charming. I think that I could tolerate past because I just didn't do well on the synthetics, which now there's like levothyroxines in the news and kind of recall-y kind of stuff. So I don't know. But I'm glad I'm on Armour. So then they were able to stabilize it. But getting the weight off is the struggle. I had an endocrinologist and I said, I'm not eating any different than I ever did. I'm super busy and active. I'm all over the place. And he's like, yeah, well, it's really in your head. I was like, excuse me? And he said, and I think he was trying to say that there's like the hunger cues. I don't know. And, they hear people make excuses all the time. So I understand that. I heard it too.
I do want to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Just to say, when doctors or coaches or anyone tells you it's all in your head, when it's legitimately not in your head.
It's hard.
Because remember, we know our bodies best. I mean, I love my team of doctors. When I was younger, I had to go through a cycle of getting the ones who, now I don't want to work with you anymore because you've got the God complex so bad and you're not listening to anything I say. And I was a big researcher. young because I wanted to know. But I had a coach tell me something when I was competing, after I was competing, and she was like, you have body dysmorphia. Because I said, hey, listen, the diet's not working. I'm retaining, I'm holding everything. And I'm speaking from an autoimmune illness, which when my kidneys are acting up, that's what I do. I spill protein and I retain and I just is stagnant. And so hearing that is really, I think if you're not secure enough with your own body and what you know to be normal and not normal, that could be very detrimental to people.
Yeah.
So I'm always very careful about telling people, like, is it a legit problem or are you thinking it's a problem because it's happened to me? So you tend to stay away from making those claims. And I hate that doctors do that.
And I mean, I've had fantastic doctors. And this one, I think maybe because endocrinology, if I'm not mistaken, deals with kidney, right? I think their kidney.
Nephrology deals with kidney, but endocrinology is like diabetes.
Diabetes, right. So I think he dealt much more with,
kidney,
I think he dealt more with diabetes than he did with things. And so that's why I think nowadays there are more people who are specializing in thyroid and specializing in women's health and women's hormones. And I was not a candidate for bioidentical hormones, which was another thing that can help. So it's such a mystery because there are people who can go through, there are women who can go through menopause with very few hot flashes. They can have no weight gain. You know, it's just, they just have a different experience. And then there are women who will have all of that and weight gain or the difficulty getting it off. And so it's not a one size fits all. I don't personally believe that you can look at the thyroid tests and know what's going on. I think this peroxidase, did I do that right? Yeah, test is important. But I think now everything I read says that even if your thyroid levels say they're normal, that a good, not necessarily a natural path, but just a good physician who's used to dealing with that will investigate further. And they do go by symptoms more than blood tests. Because another thing is there's a wide range, right, for your T3, T4, et cetera. And you're basically reading your metabolism. Oh, that was what he said. He said, thyroid has nothing to do with metabolism. I was like, dude, I don't know where you went to school, but can we Google it together right now? Because that's just not true. I was like, oh my, and I actually started crying. I came out to my husband and he was waiting for me, and this was in San Diego. And I was crying, and that's very unlike me. And he said, oh my God, you know, what happened? He thought I had horrible news. And I was crying because I thought of the women who would go in there and be told this stuff, and that aren't stronger, because I immediately filed a complaint.
Good for you.
Took it up the chain and went, get this man away from any woman who's having thyroiditis or anything else related. And I'm sure he was a fabulous physician in other ways, but just, you know, not the right bedside
dismissive, really dismissive. Yeah.
Bedside manner is like a whole podcast you could do, because except this, I don't mean to bash doctors, because I actually have a problem with, well, not a problem, actually litigation and stuff. I feel for the physicians, because I do think that people are humans, and except for the, you know, the godlike ones and surgeons and whatnot that maybe are a little more a little more secure.
Not all of them, just some of them.
Just some of them. But I mean, I think there used to be a real deficit of nutrition training for physicians, and I get it's pretty quick for general, not for people special.
That's 100% accurate.
That's still true.
That's still true.
Yeah. And then they have so much to keep up with that, you know, one woman said to me, one female doctor one time said, have you heard of 5'2"? Like she just found out. And I'm all, yeah, like 2 years ago. But I mean, good for her. She was recommending it to some of her patients and stuff. So, I mean, I think there's a lot, and I think people are going to make mistakes. And as much as I think you have to protect yourself, I feel badly for doctors who get sued for making an honest mistake, you know. So I'm not a doctor basher, but they do say things that, because they're human, that they really should think twice about, you know. And so this was one of those cases. So I felt so bad for the women who, and primarily women, who would go in and be told this garbage, that you're just lying to yourself and you're a pig. You know, it's like, no, there's something going on. So the first rule of weight loss is make sure there's not something going on. if your estrogen is 0, which one doctor said, well, your estrogen's 0. We figured that. It's like, that doesn't sound promising at all.
Great.
Right. And so that's kind of working against you. There's a whole cortisol stuff, which I can't speak to. I don't understand all of that, but that's an issue. So there's all the hormone stuff, but find out what's going on. And if you have a thyroid disorder, and I do know people with thyroid disorders who got on medication and they're like, I don't know that they lost weight, but they managed their weight and they're fine. But because all of this kind of works into insulin resistance, and that's where I think it's interesting. And I would love to hear from other, I'm not really the chat room kind of person, but I would love to hear other people. But from the people I have talked to, it's like you eat pasta, a reasonable amount of pasta, and it's not going anywhere. You're not burning it off. You are not metabolizing those carbohydrates like other people do. So the only thing that worked for me was 5 years ago, I said, okay, I'm not eating any carbohydrates, no rolls, no bread, no pasta. I only ate berries, very kind of keto-y, Atkinsy. Yeah, no sugar, vegetables, no starchy vegetables. Okay, just eliminated all of that for a year. And I lost 12 pounds. Now, I lost weight, but part of what anyone in the weight loss industry will tell you is you have to have some immediate weight loss for people to continue. And someone I know, I'm not going to name names this time, someone I know didn't think he was losing weight. And as it turned out, don't put your bathroom scale on travertine tiles because they're wobbly and it doesn't give you an actual weight. We moved it onto, I said we, cat's out of the bag. Moved the scale onto the wood, lost like 10 pounds or something, which you could tell looking at him. But the motivation then was like, oh, and I said, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great, making wine spritzers instead of the Italian half bottle of wine a night. Like, sorry, Italians, he's Italian. That's the only reason. You're Italian. I could say that.
You can. I don't drink wine. I'm a bad Italian.
Oh, okay. So see, it's
fine.
That's not a fair stereotype. So it's just keep doing what you're doing because it's working. And you could tell it was working. You're looking great, and it's basically a Mediterranean kind of diet kind of thing. So what was I saying?
The instant you need some kind of gratification. You got to instant, but you need something.
Yeah, just when you're ready to give up, if you go like and that was the whole thing. Lindora, Jenny Craig, etc. That's why they have you come in weekly. One is to catch things before they get out of hand. Diet Center, Nutrisystem. God, I think they're all probably gone now.
Nutrisystem, that's right.
Weight Watchers, which I could not even imagine. I'm going to bash Weight Watchers now. No, great sound program. Don't know much about it, but I couldn't imagine going in and announcing my weight to a group of people. I don't even let my doctor tell me.
Oh, is that what it was?
I think so. Back in the day. Excuse me, they probably changed it. I'm sure all this stuff has changed.
Oh, geez. It was like, hi, my name is Katiuscia, and I've lost this much this week. Oh, that's...
Yeah. Katiuscia weighs 135 pounds.
Good
That's
job.
I don't know. I mean, I think at one time, and again, it's hearsay. I did not go. But that was not for me. In fact, okay, so anyone who's neurotic out there, and especially relating to weight, I have something for you.
Perfect.
Flip your scale to kilograms. Oh my God, I'm so much happier.
Of course.
When I look, I go, I can live with that. And I'm still tracking the number and it's going down. Yeah. Right? But I'm like, what? This is so much better, especially because I don't convert it. I have to look
don't?
I mean, I have to look it up.
Oh, that's so good for you. So like when you go to the doctor and they weigh you in kilos.
I would tell them to. I haven't told them to yet. They've been weighing me in pounds. I just don't let them tell me what it is.
So all my doctors weigh me in kilos. And
do they?
Yes. And initially I take that number and already in my head, I'm like times 2.2. What is it?
Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. See, I don't even know. I just go to Google. I just go, how many pounds
is this many kilos?
I did it to my associate,
your friend,
who's dieting, and I said, do it in kilos. And so then he told me, and then I was like, okay. And I type it in to see what it is,
Which means when you lose on kilos, I see where you're losing, but it's actually it should almost be more positive to you because you're losing more.
It
because a
is.
kilo weighs more than
It
it's more
is
than a
because I
pound.
lost I was doing it because I'm doing like maintenance, but I'm trying to lose the last whatever. And so I'm tracking from week to week to be sure I'm increasing calories correctly and da, 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 da. And I lost 1.2 kilos.
Oh, that's great.
I know. And I was like, oh. And then I looked it up and I went, oh, because I still haven't memorized. What it is. It's just, I just found that that's more tolerable. Anyway, so the motivation. So motivation is huge. So first, I think it's find out you're healthy, and if you're not, find out what is the healthy way
Find
to
the
go.
markers.
Yeah. Do you have thyroiditis problems? Are you in menopause? Do you have other things going on? Is there any reason why you have inflammation, water retention? I remember, oh God, when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, there was a poster. I'm sure it's so funny to look back at how things are done. I'm sure these posters are no longer there, but you never know. Doctors, nurses, if you have these posters, take them down. So I was in the room and it had two women, naked women. They were see-through, I think. You could see their veins or I don't know, whatever they were, silhouettes. And it said the Hashimoto's thyroiditis body, normal. And so you have your normal person who looks not fit, but trim, not skinny.
Sure.
Right? A normally weighted person.
Okay.
And next to it, you have the bloated version of it, which is fuller face, especially severe hypothyroid kind of stuff. You get like a moon face and certain other thyroid related and parathyroid stuff you get. So that and just doughier all around. And I went,
Doughy.
doughy.
Hold on. Let's take a minute for doughy.
You're just padded, because there's water retention. There's probably a 20-pound weight gain. Is that not?
I'm
sure.
always going to use that. I usually say fluffy, but now I'm going to just say doughy.
It's not. I will use un-PC terms, like
Doughy's
fat. I
great.
will say I was fat, and you're not supposed to say fat, but I was.
100% you can say fat.
Can you now?
Yeah. Well, in this
coming.
room you can.
You'll get hate mail.
This room is
So
fine.
I looked and I went, well, that's not very encouraging
No.
because this is my future. And in fact, it was. And I think even if you manage your thyroiditis properly with supplements / medication, I still think your body changes. And that would be really, I mean, I think these are kind of facts. It's not the same. So then when you get a thyroidectomy, holy mother of God. So now I have no thyroid, which, technically you'd go, well, you just need to take more thyroid, but it's not exactly that. I don't know the science, but I don't feel like the supplements do everything. I actually have notes, but I won't bore you with looking them up. But it has to do with T3, T4 conversion and stuff. And what I was reading to you is what it does say, assuming it's correct, and every doctor's nightmare is AI information on medical, but what it does say is that your muscles, liver, etc., do not properly absorb, I think, I gotta look it up, but nutrients or something. Anyway,
That's okay. While you look that
Yeah,
up,
look it up and talk.
I'm going to take a minute or 10 seconds, 15, to shout out the doctors who are really good about listening to their patients and being compassionate and empathetic in their current situation, who don't just treat them as all a symptom.
No.
I think that that's probably when you think of medical school, and never having been, I can't really speak to the direct experience, but I can at least say I have a team of doctors now who, if I have something that's not normal going on and it's maybe not showing up in my blood, they are there to listen and help me troubleshoot it.
I hope to God that that's the new norm. And I think
hope
it
it
might
is.
be. My doctor right now, I have a St. Al's doctor, is phenomenal. And I love her. But I have to say, in all the primary physicians and endocrinologists, she was the first one to actually address the weight. Because most of them, first of all, 35 or so pounds. I think I had to it's almost like, come back when you gain 10 more and we'll talk about it, but if you say, I don't feel cold, my skin's not any more dry than it would be at this age, et cetera, and the only complaint you have is weight, they're kind of like, you're old. Who cares? You're not a swimsuit model. Well, you're fine. You're fine. How many times I heard you're fine? I was like, yeah, but no, because there's the healthy thyroid zone, right, when in the blood test. And I used to be up here, like happily hyper, not hyperthyroid, not Graves' disease, but just happily at that end. And I'm down here, and no, that's not okay with me. It may be still in the zone, but that's not where I live.
You're not fine.
That's not where I want to live. That's not fine. So it does say, here's what it is. It says, when thyroid hormone levels are low or fluctuating, your muscle, fat, and liver cells do not respond as well to insulin. Temporary insulin resistance causes the body to store blood sugar as fat rather than burning it for fuel. And that was my layman's experience. I didn't know that that was necessarily the science or that was what was happening. But I was like, if I eat anything that anybody else eats, it's there, forget about it. If I gain 5 pounds over the holidays or 3 pounds, it
lives there forever now.
And then if I want to lose weight, I have to either never eat anything again. And how low do you go? Like I think I would do 1,000 calories or whatever, try to do something, and it would not enough. I gave up alcohol for 6 months, didn't lose a pound. And I was like, well, maybe everybody drinks more than me. But, it's really, I feel for everybody out there who's struggling with that. So, but I have a great doctor, and she ran like a battery of autoimmune tests and make sure there's nothing else. And I was good. It was just like, But she also said, I think you're candidate for the GLP meds. And I was like, oh, I don't know, And because they had been tested on diabetics or used for so long, knock on wood, the long-term effects, hopefully, I don't know. I actually don't know how many years they've been using it, but I assume it's been for a while. Hopefully that's fine. And for me, it came to a point where I thought, do I want the next 10, 15 years to be miserable at this weight, or am I willing to risk something? And I thought, screw it. I'm totally willing to risk something. There wasn't anything where they said, oh, you could get this. You can. Sure. If you had a certain kind of thyroid cancer, you can't take it and this and that. But I thought, okay. So that's what I finally did. And there's a lot of people who don't want to talk about that. I know I have met so many people and they're like, wow, you've lost a lot of weight. Well, they don't even say that. That's a whole nother thing. Like it's not PC to say someone's lost weight anymore.
I think it is.
No, I'm telling you. Well, I work with multi-generational people.
No, sorry. When I say
I think it anything.
When I say I think it is, I think what I really mean is, in my head it is. It's totally fine to say it. But I also don't go PC with many things in my life because,
Well, or polite, if not PC, just it's not polite. I have.
You look great is always a way.
Yeah, you're looking great.
You're looking great.
What are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? I work with my different groups are from young professionals, so people can be in their 20s, 30s, up to 40, but all the way up to, older people who graduated from the top leadership program who are my age, some of them, and in that zone. So it's super generational. Like you can come up to someone my age and go, man, you lost. No one wants to hear a ton of weight because that means you had a ton of weight to lose. Sure. You're like, really?
So you look great the PC way, I guess, of telling everybody you've lost weight and I'm complimenting you, but I don't want to say it in case you get offended. Which therefore you look great.
And the funny thing about what are you doing is that no one wants to do what you're doing, right? So it should be, well, I'm exercising. We'd be like, oh, that's great. And they're like, yeah, no, not going to do that. I know I was one of them. I'd be like, what are you doing? Oh, well, but the business, if I'm watching what I eat next to you is such BS because it's just not true. Maybe counting calories, maybe if you're really strict, maybe Mediterranean. But even then, that's tricky. You get a little too much hummus, few glasses of Chianti, that's all good, but you better keep it in the zone. So, and then I had a friend who got, I don't know, she just had thyroiditis, not Hashimoto's, but her thyroid. It's something in the water, Katiuscia. Save it for your next conspiracy theory. There's something, there's a lot of thyroid crap going down. She got it, and she was always, we used to laugh because back in high school, I've known her since high school, she would ride her bike around the lake like 16,000 times to lose weight. And I'd be like, I'm eating only raisins. Oh, I did the Beverly Hills Diet. You want to talk
What's the Beverly Hills
scary,
Diet?
awesome diets?
We don't recommend probably.
No, you
Okay,
want to
okay.
do a big old disclaimer on this one because I grew up in the era of, I hope you have some older people listening because they will totally, there was the stewardess diet, AKA the flight attendant diet.
Yep, now it's a flight attendant.
And you ate a tomato and lettuce and cucumber. It was so bad that I did it. And I was already not overweight, but I was in high school and I wanted to lose weight. And I think I fainted like on the last day. Like, oh, I'm 105, and so I was eating nothing. So, that probably screwed up my thyroid. It's like, all that stuff. That will apparently.
So wait, cucumber, lettuce,
tomato.
tomato.
A tomato. All I remember is like my family eating dinner, and I was like, my tomato and my cucumber. I was like, it was not good. And
Any oil, any salt? Probably not.
I
I would think not. I think this is just a
rabbit. Those
diet,
are the days
basically.
where we also had Kit Kats in a tab for lunch. Yeah, it was good, and we had both of those machines on the property at the high school and a smoking section. But that's a whole nother.
Well,
So that was
gotta love the
one.
past.
There was the banana milk diet.
Oh.
Have you never heard of any of these?
What's the banana milk
You're
diet?
so young and naive. You would eat a certain number of bananas a day and a glass of milk and filled you up.
Oh,
You certainly had lots of potassium.
wow.
So that was a crash diet. But the Beverly Hills, should we take a detour
Let's do
down
it.
Beverly Hills diet?
I want to know what the
This
Beverly Hills
is the
diet is.
best diet ever. You can still get the book. Okay. And actually, this poor woman who wrote it, Beverly Hills housewife type woman, is being vindicated because now if you look on Instagram and stuff, there's all this enzyme stuff. And her whole thing was based on enzymes.
Okay.
So, hey, things come around full circle.
They do.
I
It's a
remember.
beautiful moment.
Right? I remember when, what were they called? Natural grocery stores or whatever
Yeah.
were the crazies. And they said sugar's a poison. It is, right? We now know causes inflammation, does
We
all
do
this
know
stuff.
that, cancer,
But my mom
everything.
was like, "Oh, those people are all nuts," But because they were selling. I like to go in there because like everything was in the refrigerator. Things like oats and flour, and it's like
So it's all live sprouted.
everything was.
Yeah.
It was so cool. They had yogurt. I mean, it was like back when granola was hippy dippy.
Totally.
Oh, I'm so old. So. Anyway, the Beverly Hills Diet came out, I want to say in the 90s.
Okay.
I think so. So this woman, I do remember her story. So she's it's not worth telling. But so she was a Beverly Hills person. She made a ton of money off of this book. She gained weight after a skiing accident. I think this is a story. Had always been very thin and very little. And so she studied and read up, and she decided that enzymes, that food, and this is not science. Well, I mean, who knows now? But she got panned, of course, by all the doctors, all the everybody, that it was not medically sound. But nobody cared. They bought millions of this book, and everybody was doing it. That enzymes, that improperly broken down food, is what causes you to gain weight. I think Europe was sort of kind of in that ballpark too. So, and I'm sure it also is more healthy food, right? Not all the processed crap and things like that. So she said, and I'll just from what I can remember, right? The papain, I believe, is in papayas, I want to say. And bromine, that's in
like
pineapple.
bromelain or something. That.
And it breaks down meats, I think she said. So she had different fruits that contained these different enzymes that you would eat either before or after certain foods to help break them down. Okay. Then her further theory was that certain foods go with certain foods. So if you do a protein day, so I think maybe her science wasn't correct, but certain things which she was hitting on. So she said, if you eat protein all day, then it's fine. Like you didn't count calories, you didn't do anything like that. And then if you ate carbohydrates, I forget how it worked. You had to eat all carbohydrates. And then fats go with anything. There were like rules.
Okay.
But you start out your day with fruit. And I think that there was another guy who said that you needed to start out. So it was like getting these enzymes into your system. So we would start out with like, I can't even look at pineapple anymore. So you start out with pineapple, this and that. And then watermelon, because of, this is such BS, but watermelon, because of the water, flushed out salts.
Oh.
So you would eat watermelon after a salty meal the day before till like noon.
So the high sugar content in watermelon did nothing to the, okay.
I don't know how it worked, but I think it was probably a calorie deficit. And once you ate protein, you could not go back to carbs. I know that.
Okay.
So you had to stick with it. But I can remember you'd go like, okay, I can have tortillas with a beer, with a salad, with dressing, just no cheese, so there's certain ways you did it. But you would see people. I saw a person at the doctor with this big old bag of watermelon cubes. Like, you go, she's on the Beverly Hills Diet. I was eating like raisins. Eating raisins in a college class. And it was crazy, but it worked. Again, I was like emaciated by my 21st birthday. Yeah. So that was a funny diet. And I actually ordered it again at one point. I was like, I want to see what that was about, because that worked, man. That thing worked. And I was like, oh no, I don't think so. So it's interesting to see if the enzyme stuff.
There's something to be said though about papaya and the enzyme, because whenever people tend to have upset stomachs, really sick, papaya is known to be a soother for your stomach. So that's why they sell papaya enzyme. And you can take it if you're upset stomach or something.
There's
so that's
a lot.
Interesting.
There's ones now, they're really hyping it big time. The enzyme is like the new thing.
I don't think I could eat a bunch of watermelon or pineapple.
Well, I think it was like if you had a bunch of chicken and stuff, you had like a protein meal, then you would eat papaya the next day, or papaya breaks down steak. I don't know, I'm getting my details sketchy. You can Google it. But it was crazy. So there were all those crazy diets.
Yeah.
And then,
do you remember the South Beach diet? That was in early 2000s.
I didn't do that one. That was happening when I was at Lindora, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
But it had more carbs.
So South Beach diet was like kind of, we'll call it a little bit of a spin-off of a Mediterranean diet.
Oh.
But I remember my college roommates and I bought the book and we did it, and we were so excited because we had just found this nutrition store in Pacific Beach that had sugar-free candy. And we were so excited that we really like, all the xylotols and the aspirin, like whatever, all the things. And I remember we went crazy on these sugar-free gummies. And shame on the owner of that nutrition store in Pacific Beach who did not warn 3 college students that an excess of these gummies will destroy you. Mm-hmm. So the lessons, there's lessons learned. Remember the chips when they started doing the Wow chips with Olean? And they were the fat-free.
Oh.
If there is something fat-free, sugar-free, you better believe that it's not really great for your stomach.
2 little words with Olean. Do you remember what they were? Anal leakage. I had friends who ate that stuff, and I'd be like, how do you handle the 2 little words? What the? I had a couple of rules. I was not going to do anything that had that as a warning. And I didn't want to weigh things.
Yeah.
Like I did, like Lindora had a thing at the time where they said that and this is still out there, like how big a chicken? The size of a pack of cards. I don't know if anyone knows what the playing cards look like anymore, but yes,
they're small. Yeah.
Poker. But that's how big, like you're doing keto, so you're eating a truckload of chicken and dozen eggs a day.
I mean, it's more eggs. I don't eat as much chicken as I used to when I was competing, because that I needed to keep the fat lower. Keto
so talk about that.
A fairly
Have you talked about that?
No. So
you tell me what you did.
Yeah. So I competed
your fat percentage
I competed in bikini bodybuilding for a year in 2013, and really my getting into that was I got really sick with my illness, like a really bad flare in 2009, worst flare I've ever been in, where I was it was bad. Like it was really, really bad is the only way I can put it. Spilling more protein than you should be. I was right at the brink of, I think I had a 15% kidney function. If you get to 10, you go on dialysis. And I just flipped the script because the medicines at that time were all failing me. And I had a doctor, God bless this doctor, my nephrologist, my kidney guy. He was very conservative with medicine. And he told me, there's no other poison to put you on. I'm failing everything. There's nothing else to put you on. And that was a big clue for me. He was also very okay with me doing herbs and natural remedies because his wife was very into that for their daughter. And so he kind of was like, take your seeds and weeds, do your training. And I threw myself into fitness. So this is before I competed. And I would go in for a chemo treatment. And then the next morning at 5 a.m., I would pop a Zofran and I would go to spin class at like 5:30. And that was my survival, right? That was the way that my mind had to be stronger. I always thought body goes where the mind goes. Just go and do what you need to do to feel alive, to feel that an illness isn't overtaking your life, etc., whatever it was. And so there came a point where I was on an oral immunosuppressant and I had a 6-month headache. And it was the gnarliest thing because what would she have been at that point? My neurologist, so my head doctor at that time was like, there's no way that it would be this medicine that's causing your headache. And I'm like, it's 6 months. And it was the craziest, it was a migraine. It was the craziest migraine because the only way it was pressure in my head, the only way that pressure would release was, so I guess you have to just picture this at the stage. I'd be out with friends on a Friday night. And I'd be in pain, but I would just be pushing through because I was in my 20s. And I'm like, this is what we do. We push through, we live our life. I would all of a sudden at a bar, at a restaurant, flip my head upside down between my legs and it would release the pressure and then flip it back up.
I did that, but we called it disco.
Oh, no. Well, this was the way to release that, right?
That's amazing.
It was crazy. So I remember going in for spinal tap after spinal tap because I was in ER so many times because of this headache.
What was it?
It was the medicine. It was shockingly the medicine.
But were you getting like fluid or?
Nope.
Why did it work to flip over?
I don't know. It would just like release the pressure. But I remember it was a Valentine's Day that I ended up in ER again. And they did a spinal tap. And then I told my doc, I think it was 3 days later or something, I quit the medicine cold turkey because my neurologist at that time was like, there's no way it's this medicine. The side effect is so low. And I'm like, congratulations, you've met that statistic. It's 100% me. And I remember just a few days later, the headache stopped.
Wow.
After stopping that drug. So my journey was then off drugs at this point because I had done everything and working with my kidney guy. He was keeping me in check. He was monitoring me if anything went crazy. I always knew, okay, maybe there's going to be a new med that I have to go on. But I threw myself into fitness. And then it was, I think the following year I decided to compete. So then I was on, according to the coaches, they created my diet. So you had a nutritionist creating your diet. I was eating 6 times a day, very balanced, right? Not keto at all, just very balanced to get you in shape, to cut you for showtime, to just prep your body. I will say that having kidney issues, going a week before, so going peak week, which is the week before show, cutting water that drastically, not ideal for your kidneys, but it was all temporary for me. I didn't want to make this a life. It was a goal. And I thought, I can do it. I ate the same thing every day. I was good. But fast forward to when I was done competing and I had that little body dysmorphia chat with one of the coaches that I'm like, I don't need this shit anymore. Like this is to get up on stage, like for, 15 seconds for judges to tell me about my body. For me, it was a goal to put myself in remission, which I did. Hallelujah. But the food thing for me it was just kind of a series of educational moments for me of what works for me at one point may stop working for me. And then what finally stuck in 2017 was keto. I felt good on it. It wasn't making me sick. And then I kind of got to the point where I was so gnarly in it that then I could kind of, I don't want to say like toggle in and out of ketosis. Now my typical diet is, I typically don't eat during the day and I eat 4 eggs a night or I have meat or something.
Is that all you eat though?
Like
and chocolate zucchini bread?
That's occasional. Chocolate zucchini bread is just occasional when it's in season. But
I mean, you don't eat anything all day and then you just eat eggs?
So stress, my mechanism for stress is I don't eat. So It's easy for me to, if I'm busy, I just keep powering
But
through.
you need a certain number of calories to
Yes, I
survive.
do. And I'm not an advocate for the way I eat because this is a
Well,
period.
that's the thing we're talking about too. Is everybody
You got to do what
different?
you got to do. This is a period for me right now that this works. I had last night for dinner, I ended up having 2 avocados and yogurt because it's all that sounded good to me. And it was 10 o'clock before I realized that I hadn't eaten. So normally, did I want a steak last
Roughage?
night? Yeah.
Roughage.
I know. I would have had a steak last night. My body is just, it's in
You
survival
eat what you're
mode.
hungry for.
Yeah. I eat
My
when I'm hungry.
son, I have a son that is 6'1" and thin and trim. And he was watching what he ate, and we're like, "What? What are you talking about?" "Oh yeah, I've got fat." Blah. And he likes to be trim, maybe too skinny, and lean. And he, is in good shape physically and stuff. And he plays hockey and he does all these things, but he has always been like a total fruit lover, and he did like chocolate and stuff and desserts, but not like a sweet tooth, but that he does a preference. And protein. And so he's just one of these people that is not, I don't think he says no unless he's really trying to lose a couple pounds or something, which I don't know why he'd even need to, but because he's just built that way. Some people are built, they're tall, they're lean, they can get away with more, their metabolism's good, whatever. But his habits, he eats what he wants. I remember reading one time that said if you watch a thin person and you eat like they do, you'll probably be okay. And that you can see them. They could have pancakes and whatever, but they're not doing that every day. I do think some of the old doctor advice of like the 80-20 rule, if you eat well 80% of the time, you can eat poorly 20%. And then they used to take the number of meals in a week and times 80%. And you'd know, like, basically you can have 2 bad meals. You can have a jumbo jack, or you can have whatever.
Cheat meals. We'll call them cheat meals.
Like a cheat meal, yeah. And you'll be okay. But I think those books that were out before, that was kind of like instead of this, eat this, those were very clever too for educating people. Because so what do we do so far? I said medical, and is that all I did? Was it my 4 tips? Medical?
Did like nutrition.
Nutrition?
Well, okay.
So I would say that
Find out if there's a problem.
Find out if there's a problem, and then education.
Education, that was
right.
it. Yeah.
Because I was telling you that at Jenny Craig, I had people who were like, "I don't eat anything, just like a chili dog with beans with a," and be like, and I think I don't know if this is one of my rules, but write it down, keep track when you're dieting, not when you're just not to live your life, but when you're trying to lose weight, when that's the goal. Write it down, count the calories, do something so you're accountable for what's flying in your mouth, no matter what you're doing. But anyway, he eats what he wants to eat, and so sometimes he eats something else. But as a rule, he craves fruit, not so much salads and protein and stuff. Whereas other people I know, like the old saying, they never met a carbohydrate they didn't like. And that's what they crave. So different people, it's tricky. You kind of have to find what works for you according to what you like.
I used to eat a lot of nuts. And just for everyone listening, I do eat, so let's not get worried about me.
I don't know.
No,
need to fatten you up a little bit.
No. I used to eat a lot of nuts. So, and to me, perfect is kind of charcuterie. Like I want to eat a little bit. I want to eat just a little bit.
You think everybody's eating better now?
I'm getting with what? With that?
In general? There's charcuterie.
Yeah, I would hope
information.
So. I mean, charcuterie is still...
Most people are
charcuterie
overweight or trying to be
I know.
not
It's
overweight.
Still high in sodium. So I have to watch my sodium to a limit because of my kidneys. But I was eating a lot of nuts. So in the middle of the day, if I wasn't prepped for a big meal or something, I'd have some cheese and I'd have some almonds. And then when I just had 2 back-to-back root canals that I knew nothing about, surprise, the doctor or the dentist was like, "Do you eat a lot of nuts?" And I was like, "Not anymore." So I miss my
Were you
almonds.
like cracking them open?
No, I wasn't. I know you would think that I'm just like cracking walnuts out of the shell, but I wasn't.
That would have been.
And so that was kind of a bummer for me because that was a good source of, I could take them on the go if I was in the car and I had a long day out.
God
right?
bless meat sticks.
Meat sticks are great.
Sticks
So meat sticks, I do have meat sticks. So I I do fine, right?
Those are
We're-
dirty
again,
keto, though, aren't they?
no, not
'Cause they're
clean
kinda like
ones. Chomps are
jerky.
pretty good.
Oh.
There's like
I like
Nick
the Archer
sticks that are
Farms.
pretty
I'm sure
good.
they're not, but those are.
I
They taste better.
mean, yeah. So Chomps has good ones. Nick Sticks is good. Like Epic has good ones. There's different ones that are good for you. I wouldn't get like a Slim Jim, but you know, who knows what's
Okay,
in
so what
that.
are the other diets? Did you do any other diets besides keto ever?
Paleo, right? Which is basically,
I'd
you
forgotten
know,
paleo.
just all kind of clean.
What do you
It's
think
caveman?
of
It's
these meat
caveman diet.
What do you think of like
Oh, the
Jordan
carnivore diet?
Peterson's daughter did it.
Carnivore diet.
Yeah, the carnivore
I
diet.
think that has probably benefits for those people,
Do
especially
they
when
eat
they're documenting.
salads, though?
No, it's literally all meat.
That sounds like a Dukalax waiting to happen. What the heck?
Probably. So I think, you know, for
I know it's
me,
supposed to be all kinds of medical or health benefits.
benefits. And I'm all for anyone doing what they have to do to feel,
don't
to try
care.
it, to
You know what?
find.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care if you want to be 400 pounds, if that makes you happy. I just care about like how I felt and how I wanted to be. And I think for loved ones too, you want for their health, you want, you know,
Of course.
you want your people to be healthy. But I don't eat what you want, do what you want.
I know, but always do it, I guess, knowing that there are repercussions and that we can't live in this media manifested okay to be.
Oh, I don't mean that. I don't mean it's okay to be overweight.
Okay. So do what you want. Karen's saying do what you want.
I'm saying if you're happy, go for it. Don't kid yourself that you're healthy.
Yes. Okay.
Because
That.
we know the overweight models who say like, my blood tests are great, and that's like, yeah, maybe now, but give yourself, that bikinis look a whole lot different when give yourself 15 years and you're 320.
It did.
Whatever, and it's not all about how you look, right? That's the health side.
But it's how you feel. It's how, I mean, it has a lot of other. We were talking the other night about the weight on knees and feet.
Oh yeah,
right?
it's hard. So our independent study. No, so those of us with no nutritional degree found that 30 pounds was the trigger, and it's nothing scientific, but that's when back problems, knee problems, when people started saying physical things.
Yeah.
And they'd come in. 20 pounds, you didn't hear it. 50 pounds, yeah, you heard it. But it was like 30 pounds. And God bless the people who came in who had gained weight because of back injuries and because of things, because that's like Hashimoto's or your thing.
Sure.
It's not your fault. And then you're in so much pain that you eat for the pain. I can remember the stories people would tell me. And medications make you gain weight and all these different things and stuff. But they were generally successful with a plan. They just needed someone to go, here's what you eat.
To
'Cause
guide
they couldn't
you,
get,
to guide
they'd
you
never,
through it.
And men are really interesting. I've seen this now as, older adult, but at the time, all these men would come in and say, when I was in high school or college, I was an athlete and I could eat anything. And so I didn't order a double-double. I ordered a double-double and a blah, 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 and a monster fry or whatever. And they were surfing or playing basketball or playing baseball or playing football. Football's a big one. So they could eat these things. Now I've had a desk job. I have not adjusted what I eat, and I've gained 40 pounds or whatever it is. And so they didn't know, like literally did not know what was going to be okay. And I mean, AI, you can go, I want to eat a 2,000 calorie meal. I want it to be this or that. And you can spit the whole thing out. So I don't know how anybody's staying in business other than prepared foods. But you can even get that delivered to your home. Those little meal things are so cool. And I'm sure it's about what the other programs charged back in the day,
Sure.
which was more money back then, but nobody was doing it. So it was a premium. So you can do all that now. But at the time, they didn't know what to eat. They didn't know what to do. And also just the accountability of somebody weighing you in or checking or, and people would come in. The funniest thing is because of the business side of it. So from a business perspective, they want you to buy the food, right? Because you may make money on the food. From a humanistic side of it, you want people to eat their food because if they're eating the food, they're losing the weight, which is what they came there to do. So I can remember there was a woman, and she was so sweet, and she was, I think, in her 70s, and she had 10 pounds to lose, maybe 15, but not a lot, 10 pounds, I think. And looking at her, I was like, why are you here? And she said, well, I've always been thinner. And I said, okay. And I'm probably thinking what everybody used to say to me. I'm telling you, Karma's like, I got everything back that I ever gave or thought. And I'm thinking, yeah, but you're 70. What the hell? She said, I have a coat that I love and I can't button it. And so she did the program, and it took her a little while longer. If you were on Thyroid, if you had certain things, if you were older, they added weeks compared to the dude who came in and, did the program and went, I lost 15. My husband lost 15 pounds on Atkins in 3 weeks at one time when we were doing it together, and healthy. And it was cool, What kind of diet, and I think it's just like any high protein now. Can you have asparagus with hollandaise and a half glass of red wine and sauteed mushrooms on steak? And it's like, as long as you just don't eat the roll or the,
That'll tip you. That tips it. And
tips
a lot of
sign
people don't
that
understand.
right.
So if you are going to do one of these diets, if you're going to get into keto, whatever it may be, make sure you're actually following the protocol.
Right.
Make sure you talk to someone. And again, with all of the information that's available to us, it's great. We love all the information. But so much of that is input by humans, right? That you want to make sure that you're actually clearing it, get multiple sources maybe.
Right.
But if you eat high fat and then you're like, I ate so good, my perfect keto meal, I'm going to go across and I'm going to get a sundae.
Right. And there you go.
Yeah, then that's how you gain weight. Hello.
And we were talking about that too. The people kid themselves, they either kid themselves or they just don't know.
Sure.
So that's the education portion. And they'll say, I'm eating so healthy. We had vegetables and da-da-da-da, and then they have like Chick-fil-A in their car, a bag. You can't do that. It's going to take a little longer.
Yes.
It's more than one healthy meal. It's calories in, calories out, or it's the science of ketogenics. It's something where you've got there's a master plan. The other thing is, it's so funny because like with Instagram, with social media, like there's a guy on now, and he'll come up on my thing, and it's like, here's what we're eating this week, and he's got like this tray of ground beef, and he's got this other tray of rice, and then he's like, I'm gonna mix it with this and this and this and this, but he's like jacked, he's totally fit, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do that, and I'm like, no, because I'm not gonna be bench pressing and running and throwing a weight ball.
Yes, yes.
So you have to go like, are you willing to do all these other things that these people like you were? Bikini body, you're lifting weights, you're doing this stuff. It's not like the magic. There's no
so
magic
remember
pill.
when you're following social media.
Oh, but there is
anybody.
a magic pill, which we have to get to.
Yeah, that's right. So whenever you're following people on social media and you see these things and it looks so easy, right? Like, oh, I can eat that. That's super easy. Remember who's giving you the advice and the lifestyle that they live and how it differs from yours. Because unless you're willing to do all those steps, please don't eat that diet. Like, please. Please don't do it. Just do what's best for your body, which is so different for everybody.
It's probably not healthy for you either because they're probably, because they're doing it
There's
correctly.
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of factors. You're going to say the pill, but I want to ask you before you talk about the pill, what was being at Jenny Craig and being more in the behavioral side of things? I would like you to touch on two things.
Okay.
What did you find that the biggest reasons for people being overweight and wanting to come in, finally making that decision? That's question one. But you can probably answer question two quicker. And how did you respond to the people who said they were big boned?
Well, okay. So the reason why people would come in is there was a thing that most of the diet industry used called an X factor, which, well, what that is. And so the salespeople were charged with finding the X factor. Because if you got to the X factor with the people, then they would sign up. Because then they'd go, oh, that's why I'm here. That's why it's different. And most people have tried lots and lots of diets unsuccessfly, or they've lost weight, gained it back, etc. So an X factor, some of them were heartbreaking. A lot of things with kids. Why are you so fat? Just horrible stuff. Or someone saying something terrible. Or I don't know, pants ripping. I mean, anything you can think of has happened to people. Or a medical diagnosis, if you don't lose this XYZ. Sure. So those kinds of things usually prompted someone coming in. For me, mine was, I've never been overweight. I quit smoking, I've gained weight. I don't want to start smoking, so I need to lose. I had a guy who came in, he goes, I've quit drugs, I've quit alcohol, I've quit smoking. So now it's just this. And I was like, good for you. Let's help you get the weight off. Here you go. I don't know how he did on any of those areas. But so everybody, it's different motivation. The motivation of my niece's wedding isn't, it's kind of an okay one. It's good. It'll get you there. But anybody who loses weight for a wedding, good luck keeping it off. Because once the wedding's come and gone, now what's your motivation?
Sure.
Medical and health and fitness is not everybody's goal. And the biggest self-BS is, I want to do it for my health. Well, if you have a medical, diagnosis,
Sure.
or if someone's given you a scary prognosis, then yeah. But most people aren't doing it for that. It's vanity. It's because, I don't know, it's a lot of things. And health. Like, I want to lose weight for my health? Yeah, because with Hashimoto's and with gaining weight, your markers all go up, your triglycerides, your blood pressure, with getting older too. So yeah, there's a health factor. Is that what got me to do it? Absolutely not. Mine was clothes. Done, easy peasy. 2 things for me. Clothes, number 1, because I love clothes and I love shopping, and I had deprived myself of shopping. And so I've spent more on clothes than I have on medication since losing weight, mostly because I was like, this is great. And then a month later, those don't fit anymore. Which is nice is when they're too big, but it was like maybe should have waited a little bit. That was one. But the other thing for me, and I won't forget the other question, but the other thing is I don't like to think about weight, right? So I never did it because especially now at this age, I'm not going to be a swimsuit model. I'm not doing it to get a guy or a girl or whatever. It's because it's a horrible devil, angel, whatever. It's a horrible little voice for some of us. Apparently not for others. Apparently others are okay. Body image, God bless them. If you are 40 pounds over your recommended weight from the doctor and you're pouring yourself into stretch pants at Costco and you feel good, God bless you. Not saying it's healthy, but if you really have a body image that says, this is good, I look good, then okay.
Yeah.
I love you, but I'm not that.
You're not
right?
that. Neither am I.
Which is my other theory I told you. Oh, I'm going to forget because I'm jumping all over the place. My theory that people who are overweight, who wear things that seem to be maybe inappropriate or not the most flattering on them, have probably been heavier. And
Sure.
so
and that makes total sense.
So now they're feeling good, which then you go,
that makes
go
sense.
for
Good
it,
for
girl.
you. Yeah, that makes
good for
sense.
you.
Yeah.
If you've deprived yourself and now you're wearing it, have at it.
And you've worked hard to get to,
yeah. Maybe you're in the process.
It is hard losing weight, right?
Yeah.
I can speak from my own
deprivation.
experience. Yeah. And it's never as easy to lose weight as it is to gain it.
Right,
So
right.
that kind of goes across the board for anyone.
So what were we talking about?
You're going to tell me big boned.
Oh, the big bone. Well, I have 2 stories.
Yeah.
This one's because I speak Spanish, and I used to speak much better because I went to school in Mexico.
That's
so
right.
I came back from Mexico and I spoke Spanish pretty well when I was at Jenny Craig. So they used to measure your wrist. Okay, my wrists are pathetically small.
Mine are too.
Yeah, really small. So I am like bird bones. I am small framed, which means that any weight on me is fat or maybe muscles or
Doughy.
maybe
Doughy. A little dough.
No, it's not. I told you my friend and I are the same height. She weighs always about 15 pounds more than me, and we wore the same size. She's just muscular the way she's built and stuff. So, and she has a larger frame. So your wrists apparently tell how, if this is still used,
Sure.
It gives you an idea
Okay.
of frame. It's because I think in the time we had to put in the computer small, medium, or large frame based on this. So this guy comes in and he's Latino, and he speaks Spanish. So I'm taking him on a tour and talking to him and speaking to him in Spanish. And then I get to measuring his wrist. And I say in Spanish, now we're going to measure your bones for your bone structure. But instead of saying huesos, which means bones, I said huevos.
Oh.
Which means eggs, which is slang for balls.
Balls.
Yes.
Perfect.
So I said, now we're going to measure your huevos with a measuring tape.
Oh,
And
no.
this poor young guy's face went completely white.
Oh, no.
Completely lost all blood to his face. And I went, huesos, huevos, huevos, huesos, huesos. And just complete panic. And then we both kind of giggled, and I measured his wrist. But the poor guy really thought I was going to, because he didn't know what he was in for. He
didn't
came to
know.
Jenny Craig. I have so many great Jenny Craig stories. There was a guy who came in Glendale. Apparently, there are pig farmers. Didn't know that. And he came in with his dad, and they had on overalls, and they were muddy, which I know you could see, like in Idaho Falls or somewhere here. But there, I was very unusual. You're just outside of LA. And I used to use this as a training lesson for salespeople to say you can't project your own finances onto other people. You may think something's expensive, but you can't do that because you don't know what people have. You don't know what they are. So you got to let it go. Here's an example. They came in at the end. I said, so blah, 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 you owe. And it was an investment at the time. It went down and down and down and down over the years. And then your first week's food and this and that. So it was several $100s, you know. And I thought, here we go. I just wasted 45 minutes. These guys are going to go, what? And walk out. And the father goes like this into the bib thing and pulls out just this wad of cash. And went for Junior. And I went okie dokie and stuff. So anyway, that's just weird stuff.
So Karyn, tell me about the GLP and how it's benefited you and kind of how you want to put the whole theme together of that. Like, I would love it.
So find out medically what your situation is. Educate yourself so you're not kidding yourself that you're eating healthy or that you're not. Try to write it down. If you don't want to count calories, maybe keto, maybe Atkins, maybe something, follow it to the letter, etc. See if the exercise, move, do something. Exercise is not a weight loss ticket. It's a maintenance ticket. In the end, if really you're doing everything, especially if you're menopausal, perimenopausal, postmenopausal, especially if you have thyroiditis or something, and you're really not getting decent results, any results, then talk to your doctor about a GLP because, and again, there's people who can't take it and there's people who can't afford it, right? And someday, hopefully soon, all insurances will cover it because of your blood pressure going down and all these other health things that happen when you lose weight. It's a positive thing, right? So I said to my doctor, after we kind of ruled out this and that, I said, I just don't want to think about weight every day. I don't want to go like, oh, I look fat in this, or oh, this, or I don't want my picture. I just want to put on clothes and just not think about it. That's my number one goal. And then the health and all those other things are great too, and shopping and all that stuff. So she said, you're a perfect candidate. You're insulin resistant, not pre-diabetic, but you're not metabolizing it. You've got no thyroid, et cetera. If you want to try it, try it. So like I told you, there's a bunch of people I know now and nobody talks about it. It's like they're embarrassed. I don't know if they're embarrassed because it feels like a cheat, because it affects your hunger and stuff. It's not amphetamines like the old days kind of stuff. I don't know if it's because it's expensive if you don't have insurance, although there are compounding places where you can do, and those are different. I did it through like the Eli Lilly legit kind of stuff. But it's not, if you're not losing a significant amount of weight, it's not forever. So, you just have to I figured out ahead of time. It's like, well, it's going to cost me this much. And what can I do it? But it does have side effects. And everybody's experience is different. Some people don't ever throw up. I threw up for months. And I said to my doctor, I feel like I'm in training to be a bulimic. And she goes, well, that's not good. And she goes, but some people, that's the way it is. I'm telling you. And it wasn't because you hear about lap band people and stuff who then just gorge themselves and they throw up. It can happen on Wegovy and Ozempic and these things too. If you eat too much, you will throw up. That was not my situation. I just couldn't keep anything in. So yeah, I lost a lot the first couple of weeks because of the whatever small amount of calories I was eating. I wasn't keeping anything in. And then, you adapt. I haven't had a glass of wine. Well, I have now because I'm on maintenance, but I didn't have a glass of wine for like 5 months because I couldn't stomach it. So I had a severe, I'd say, reaction, but it was worth every minute of it. And it wouldn't be all day long, but it'd just be, certain things. You can't eat fast food. You can't eat creamy stuff. You have to eat vegetables, fruits. You can eat carbohydrate. You can eat anything. So in that way, it's good because it's portion control. It's getting you away from all those habits. You're not going to cruise through McDonald's and get fries and stuff because you're going to probably throw them up.
You're sick.
Probably, or you eat 3 and you'll be okay. But you have to eat a significant amount of protein. You still lose muscle mass because it's pretty fast. Some people lose faster than others, but it works. And it works for people who can never lose weight. And it does kill your appetite. It slows down your digestion. It affects your insulin so that you produce more. I think in high carbohydrate situations, you produce more insulin when you normally wouldn't.
Okay.
So that you can metabolize the carbohydrates. I haven't really eaten many carbohydrates, but apparently that's what would happen.
Okay.
Because I told her, I don't want to do this if it's just killing my appetite, because then what's going to happen? I'm
yeah.
just going to rebound. She goes, no, there's some medical science stuff happening too. Then when you go off the shots, which I did the weekly injections, you can go on the pills now and you can go on the pills from the start too. So once you go off the shots, I think you can go on the pills. And you have to check with doctors because I don't know exactly if you can pop on and off and how that all works. But if you have a medical situation, like a diabetic, you can be on them for life. And you can, I think this is correct, and I'm going to double check with her because that's all very new for me. I think you can do them for like a month, take a month off, see how you do. So it's basically maintenance, making sure that you're still staying within the calorie range and stuff.
But you're happy.
Highly recommend it.
And you look great,
Thank
Karyn.
you. Thank you.
So that's what we're gonna say. You look great. Karyn looks great. So
Thank
next
you.
time you see her in public, be like, Karyn, you look so great.
Oh, you look so
because
great.
it's PC.
Oh, it's very PC with me.
There's nothing that's not PC with us, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, no. Pretty much everything goes.
We're okay.
Yeah.
We're okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of this.
Thanks.
This was a lot of information.
It's
I
a lot of interesting partial information.
Yeah, well, but it's also from your experience, and I love that. And I love that you can now get clothes that you're happy with.
Oh, it's hard because Amazon keeps spamming me because they
See?
know I'll just go, yes.
Sold. Sold. Perfect. Thank you for coming on.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.